Episode 34, Crazy Damn Canadians. Alex Mackenzie.
Yeah, buddy.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, happy to be here.
If anyone were to Google your name,
right,
there would be some amazing articles that come up about this young man from Prince George, British Columbia, who had a six-figure salary working at a pulp mill and gave it all up. Sold his house, quit his job, bought an RV, went with your dog Finley, and pursued a life as a comedian. How did that happen?
Well, it all started back in '98. So, no, just kidding. No, man, I don't know. Honest, I just was. I was very depressed, like through my 20s, you know.
In your career?
Yeah, it was mostly the career
job.
Yeah. It was just that. Like,
I don't know. You were 31 when you made this decision.
I was 30 when I quit, but I knew I wanted to quit well before that. So I just remember it was like, how old was I? I was probably like, I guess as I started getting older, I remember like getting out of school when I was in my early 20s. Like the big fear was, are you going to be able to become a productive member of society? I remember that was the focus. I was like, dude, are you going to be able to like get a job and get a house and, you know, take care of yourself? And, you know, I went to CNC here and I took a pulp and paper technologist program.
Yeah, so power engineering?
I did that after.
Oh, okay.
So originally I was going to do power engineering, but I was waitlisted for a year. And my parents were like, you're not taking a year off school. You got to go to school. They're like, take this pulp and paper course. And then if you get a job at the mill will pay for you to do power engineering. If you don't get a job at the mill, then you can come back and do power engineering next year. Yeah. So I did that. I got a job at the pulp mill, and then just started working right away. And then it was like off to the races as far as like adulthood goes. So I was, what was it? Like I was 20 years old and I already had a mortgage. And then, you know, I bought a new truck, and then I bought jet skis and snowmobiles and dirt bikes, and it was like I felt like I won the redneck Olympics, you know. You're like, I got all the things.
That's the Prince George lifestyle right there.
Yeah,
right?
Man, you could be, as long as you had all the toys and the stuff. And then it was like, dude, I was like 23 and you're like $500,000 in debt, and you're like, oh my god. Because it started, I was like, hey, I always wanted to get to Vancouver, and I was like, what I'll do is I will get I'll buy a truck, and I was like, I'm going to stay at the mill till this truck's paid off. I was like, I got 5 years, that'll be good, and I'll pay it off in 2. And then it just like, then a house came in, you're like, well, 25 years isn't that bad. And then it just kept going. And yeah, so then I was on the pulp machine for a couple years, and then there's like a steam plant out there. So if you get into the steam plant, they'll actually pay for you to do your power engineering.
And so that's where you pursued that?
Yeah, so then that's what I did. I went there and I did my power engineering, and you get to like do it like correspondence, you know? So you do it here, and then you like write, and you have to go down to BCIT and write a couple of the finals and that. So I did that, and I loved it. Like I was so excited because I was like, oh man, this is my ticket to get out of here. I just wanted to travel. Like I wanted to get to a big city. I always knew that.
And what better than Van City? When you were working at the pulp mill, did you see a lot of other unhappy people in that work environment? Like people that may have been in their early 20s like you were, and collected or accumulated a substantial amount of debt, where they had their mortgage with their house, they have their toys, their skidoos, their snowmobiles, their RVs, you name it. Right. And then they just spend their working career paying that debt off.
100%. So that's a very big thing. The one thing I want to do, like I really try not to paint the pulp mill in a bad light too much. Like it is what, like my grandpa worked there, my dad worked there, their whole careers. It's what provided me a quality of life to be able to do the things that I did. And there are a lot of guys out there that are doing, it's very admirable when you're working to provide a quality of life for your family. So that's the one thing that I said was the only way that I would be able to do it. Like I was a single dude with a dog. So the only thing I have to do is I realized, I'm like, dude, if I can feed me and my dog, like that's all we need, you know? But it's like if you had like your wife,
Finley, right?
There's Finn Dog right there, man. Oh, I love that guy, man. That was honestly right when we were quitting. That was like,
oh really?
That was right.
So that's 2019?
So it's 2019. I had just bought my RV. That's my baby boy. Look at him. He's like, well, I'm terrified.
Even Finley's like, what the hell are you doing? Quitting your job? That's a beautiful pup.
Box now?
Lad, hey?
Dude, I think it's so funny for him what he must have thought. Because like, now, before I used to leave him he'd stayed at home when I would leave and go to work for 12 hours and then come home, right? And then now we got the RV and then we're going around and I'm like, he's like, is this where you've been going the whole time? You've been leaving me and doing all this stuff?
You've been RVing without me, Dad? What the hell?
Oh, yeah.
That is a beautiful dog.
If you want to see of a thing, like look at how fat I was at the mill. Dude, I lost 60 pounds since I quit my job. It's like
that's awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
you're just
hearing you say that
you
lost 60 pounds of body weight, and just picture yourself picking up a 60-pound dumbbell.
Oh yeah.
Or a couple arms full of groceries that are 60 pounds, and you're carrying that extra weight around.
I always picture it like a 45 plate at the gym. Like I'm like, so like playing hockey or doing anything, I'm like, put a 45-pound plate and now go do something, or walk up a flight of stairs. You're like, everything is just harder, man. Like everything, you know?
Yeah.
So, but.
And with you growing up in Prince George, one of our mutual friends, Sonny Cooler, was mentioning that you guys were at College Heights Secondary School together.
Yeah.
And that although you're the popular kid in school, the rep hockey player, he said you were nice to everybody. And I'm a firm believer that like good things should happen to nice people. So seeing you quit your job, buy an RV with Finley, and traveling across the country, what was that experience like? I mean, as soon as you get south of Prince George and approach Quesnel, were you like, what the hell just happened? What did I just do?
It was, where was the first place I went? I stayed in Williams Lake at their city, what do they call them? Like their city center? They just have like the little kiosk thing. It's
convention area, like their tourism.
Yeah, exactly. Center, there, yeah. That was the first place I stayed. And it was very, it's weird, man. Like you go out and it's freedom. Like you're just like, dude, I can go wherever I want. But it's a little scary.
Did you have lots of savings?
So what I did, the thing is, I had no money. So I was so bad with that was the thing that saved me, was the house. Like I was so bad with money. I was living paycheck to paycheck the whole time. And that was the thing. I realized, I'm like, dude, you're never going to not do this. Like I always would tell myself when I get another job, like when I'm finish my power engineering and I'm making full rate, or once I pay off my truck, then I'll have more money. And you're always telling yourself that like, in 2 years, dude, it's going to be better. We're going to have this money freed up. I'm going to be able to start getting ahead. And then I'll be able to like kind of, allocate some resources to the stuff I want to do. And it never happened. It was like, and that was the thing with the house, dude. I say my house was the only thing I know of that had more problems than me. Like, it was like, dude, every chance I got, it was like, I'd save up some money. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have like $5,000. And it's like your roof starts leaking. You're like, well, that's 10. So you're now 5 in the hole. Yeah. And then it was like, then your fridge would quit. And then it's like, if it's not the house, then your truck or something breaks. And you have all this stuff. And I was so upset with it. I was just like, get it out of here. I didn't want any of it. So it was like, sell everything.
How liberating of a feeling it is to do that. Just renounce the majority of your possessions and feel that kind of freedom. Actually, Matthew McConaughey, I don't know if you read his new book. It's called Green Lights.
No.
Really, really good book.
Yeah.
The audiobook is actually recommended because he narrates it
Dude,
himself.
that's what I go with generally in the RV anyway. Because I drive so much.
So you're taking in all of the podcasts,
audiobooks, so Audible, and
Yeah, and so he speaks about like in between movies, he would just jump in his RV with his dog as well, actually, and he'd just cruise throughout North America to stay in shape. He'd just park in a random spot off the highway in Arizona, and he'd just go for a run with his dog, or he'd jump into a random lake and just swim for an hour to keep the cardio going. But he said that out of all of his experiences throughout the last 30 years, the last 3 decades, and this includes all the movies he did and everything, the most enjoyable time when he was just by himself on the road with his dog in an RV. You're the Canadian Matthew McConaughey right here. You have the hair too.
The hair,
all right.
Yeah, that'd be unreal. We'll see. Well, yeah, just got to keep working to try to get some of those career goals. But
So what were the first couple months like when you were on the road?
Oh, well, it was like complete vacation was the thing. So, I quit to do comedy, and so I had some shows booked. Honestly, I had like 2 shows booked when I quit. Like when I was leaving the mill, that's all I had.
So not even a full cross-Canada
schedule? No, nothing. And you're like, people are asking, they're like, oh, sweet, like where are you going? You're like, lots of places. And you're like, dude, But it was like, I was just figuring it out. Like, I don't know, learning a schedule, I guess, was the thing. Like it just became, like I worked so much where you were up every day, and the thing that I loved the most was not waking up to an alarm clock. That was my goal, like one of my goals in life. I remember saying this to my dad when I worked at the mill. I said, how I'll judge I'm successful is if I ever get to a point in my life where I don't have to wake up to an alarm clock. And that my dad's joke was, he's like, well, you can do that now, or there's another way you could do that. He's like, my dad's like, I wake up at 6 a.m. every day on my own, You're like, okay, Dad. Jeez, perfect.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like, I don't know, it's so freeing, man. Like I got to see so many places. So I lived here for 30 years. I had never spent any time in the Okanagan. I'd never, like, Canada. I hadn't really seen a lot of it. Like, I'd gone to, like, Vancouver mostly, just straight there and back. Before I did comedy, I mean, I I don't think I ever spent any time in Kelowna or Penticton and Vernon. It was magical. It was just every day I would wake up and you'd be like, I had like a show in 2 weeks. Say the first place I went was Penticton. I had a show there.
Nice.
So I went
Penticton's beautiful.
Yeah, man. So I went to Kelowna and then I stayed there at like the Apple Bowl. Nice. It's like their football stadium there, and they have a big parking lot. And I just stayed there with my dog. And then we would just find lakes, man. You just like would look, and I'd find a beach, and I would go and drive there and take Finley there and throw the ball for him. Yeah. And I remember getting to make breakfast every morning. That was super cool. Like the fact that you had time to cook and eat. Mm-hmm. Like, cause at my old job, like I would wake up at like 6:55 to get there by 7, and I'd be screaming out the door like, "Come on!" And then now you just wake up when you're not. When you don't, there's when you're ready to wake up, and then you're like, oh, I have time to cook, and then you have time to grocery shop. Like,
well, it's a blessing and a curse. These high-paying pulp mill jobs that we have around Prince George and northern British Columbia, they're amazing because they allow a lot of individuals to truly care for their family, to make a large salary that they can actually have a house, and actually the cost of living in Prince George is relatively low.
Right. So insane.
It's fantastic combination. I guess the curse would be is that you have a lot of people doing things every day repetitively that they're not passionate about. And that's why when you first made this commitment to selling your house, buying the RV, jumping on the road with Finley at 31, it was such a big news story because people were so shocked. It was on CBC and Global and The Citizen, like every major news outlet in northern BC and across the province were covering this story because people were so surprised. People were shocked at the fact that somebody would just give up all of their possessions and sell everything to free themselves to go live on the road. Yeah. And I remember reading it back in 2019. I was like, why aren't more people doing this? Because people are afraid to follow their passion. People are afraid to take that next step to pursue something that they've really wanted to do for a lot of times a long portion of their life.
Oh yeah, dude, the fear is like the biggest one. Is like it's what it is. And the one thing I say, I was very lucky. Like at a very young age, I got in a work environment that had a lot of older men. And so right away I got to I just asked them, what would you do at my age? Like I would ask those questions all the time. And I was like, what is something, if you could go back on your life? I asked every person I worked with, said, if there's one thing you could do going back, what would it be? All of them were like, I wish I bought a house sooner, was a lot of them, because a lot of them were like, oh, I paid rent for years and that all just pissed that away. And then I bought a house, later in my 30s. And then now they're like, I would have had my house paid off and I could be retired and out doing my thing, which nobody does. As soon as they pay off their house, they just remortgage and do that anyway. So there was that. And then a lot of people oh, I wish it, just wishing that you would have tried that thing. Like there was a thing that you wanted to do, but you were too afraid that it wasn't going to work out. Yeah. And so, I don't know. They say there's 4 core regrets, they call them, all right? There's your foundational regrets. Mm-hmm. So those are small regrets that you make, small things every day. So it's you eat too many foods, or too many foods. Oh God, he sounds uneducated. I eat a lot of foods. Oh man, you eat too much, or smoking cigarettes, whatever, these small things that over time lead to things.
I think one of the biggest thing right now is probably social media. You're gonna have people, not decades from now, but months from now, looking back on how they spent the last 5, 6, 7 years of their life, and they're going to wish that they spent less time on social media or on phone.
Buddy. 100%.
Even
dude, you ever put your phone on airplane mode? Oh my God, man! I just did that the other day for the first time, dude. That's like hitting the snooze button on life. You're just see you later, and I was like, I'm free. That was actually a thing.
That's great advice.
I've always wanted something about that stuff. Before I quit my job to do that, one of the things I did one time was I shut my phone off for a week. I just said, I called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm shutting my phone off for a week.
You.
I don't know what I'm doing. I just shut it off and I left it at home.
And that's not easy to do.
No, dude, it was crazy. When I got to work and you were doing it, you were so you were so present. Yeah. In the lunchroom, you'd sit there and you're like, does anyone want to talk about something? What's going on? Everyone's looking at their thing and you're all of the outside stress is gone, and it's you're back to just me and you sitting on this chair, man.
Yeah.
And it's
we were walking through the airport last weekend, 2 weekends ago, and my buddy just says, look around. What do you see? Do you see people connecting, interacting with each other? And we looked around to like the Borden area, a couple restaurants, a cafe, and everyone's head was buried right in their phone.
Oh, yeah.
Not connecting with the person sitting across from them or their friends or their family or their kids or anything. Like everybody just buried in this weird digital world that's being created. And this doesn't even involve the metaverse yet. This is just social media and different phone apps.
That's the scariest part. That's my least favorite part of the job is doing the online stuff. I get so stressed out. Like I'm like, oh, I got to make my post today or make my joke or my TikTok thing.
And then you're checking on analytics or like, how's this performing? Should I boost this post?
Yeah, I try and stay out of that now.
Smart.
Like I try and just like honestly, like I don't scroll social media. Like I don't look at what anyone else is doing.
You post and coast.
I post and I'm out of there.
That's the way to do it.
And then like, but that's that connection you're talking about. I think that's like the key to life, man. Like
it is.
that's why I love comedy. Comedy is so fun when you get to get on stage and you get to connect with a large group of people. And you're like, we're all, and you're like, it's so intimate, man. You're like, here we are, and it's, and then when you get them laughing, and you're all laughing together, it brings back my faith in humanity. I'm like, dude, the world's not burning. Like, look at all these people who have all these different views, and we're all just laughing about a funny joke about whatever, you know?
And you've talked about that in the past, how comedy is a means to actually articulate and express some pretty heavy topics sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But in a way where people are probably more willing to be a recipient of the information or take it in without being so
Dude, it's
offended.
the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, right?
Mary Poppins.
So if you want to like try and do something rather than just like tell people this is wrong, if you can like point out the idiocracy in it or something and make it funny, people are way more receptive. But see this right now. Do you see how I am? We just started talking about comedy, and you see how I perked up? I sat in my chair, my eyes are bigger. And
your posture just got extraordinarily well.
This is what told me I had to do this. I was like, what I started doing, I started paying attention to my energy levels. And I started going, when am I energized? When am I not? And it was every time I would go to my old job at the mill and do that, I was like, oh, and I was just like so lethargic. And then all it would take is someone to mention something about comedy, and I'm like, dude, okay, so right, and you're like, I'm like, dude, that's the sign, the universe, something is telling you, do that thing, and I'm like, I just started doing more of that. I do that. I would talk about comedy for hours. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Not only are you skilled at comedy, but you're also skilled at marketing because we've collaborated on the Hungry for Laughs comedy tour, which is happening this Saturday at the Playhouse. And so I've witnessed your marketing mix and the content that you're putting out there and the campaigns, and it's impressive from a fellow marketer.
Yeah.
And here we are, Hungry for Laughs.
Oh yeah, baby.
And so literally, when I see you doing this marketing, it brings back one of my favorite quotes. We're kind of talking about happiness and freedom, and like my favorite marketing quote, maybe even my favorite quote of all time, is if it looks good, you'll see it.
Yeah.
If it sounds good, you'll hear it. If it's marketed right, you'll probably buy it.
Right.
But if it's real, you'll feel it.
Right.
And you were obviously feeling it when you decided, I have to quit this job. I have to just go on the road and pursue my passion.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me, because you didn't have a ton of money in the bank account where you could just live off for the next 20 years.
No,
it wasn't like you won the lottery and did this.
So I had if you want to talk numbers, man, I had I think 50 grand, I think is what I had.
Yeah.
Like after selling everything and doing
Yeah.
everything. And you were like, and I was living a pulp mill life before. So I burned through that pretty quick.
And you can see that bank account number deteriorate quite quickly when you're on the road, right?
Oh yeah, they'll definitely, man. Especially now at gas prices. Yeah. Oh my God. Like my RV is not a mobile home anymore. Like it is where it is. Dude, I was like making that joke. I was like, I think that's why the Freedom Convoy's still going. I'm like, those guys drove to Ottawa and they just can't afford to get home, you know?
And you actually, your story, how you started because people always use excuses. They'll find a million different excuses not to do something, and money will be one. They'll be like, don't have enough saved right now, so I'm not going to pursue this. And your story reminds me of this gentleman. His name is Nims Purja, and he's from Nepal.
Okay.
And what he did was he decided that he wanted to climb the 14 highest peaks in the world.
Right, I saw that.
It's on Netflix. It's a documentary. So it's called 14 Peaks. Amazing story, amazing individual. And so he was doing an interview just this week talking about like, well, did you have a lot of money saved up for this documentary before you started? He's like, I had $0. I filmed the footage with handheld cell phone and a drone that we were just kind of trying to get up when it was not cold enough on Mount Everest or K2 or wherever they were.
Right.
And he's like, but when you're passionate about something, you just have to block out that part of your mind that brings up all the excuses, and you have to find the reason why you want to do that and then pursue it. 100%. And then with that particular case, after he started climbing a few of these mountains, and they're the 14 highest mountains with over 8,000 meters in elevation, and he said then once they had this content, the footage from their hikes, their bidding wars started. All these different producers and directors were like, we want to turn this into a documentary. How much can we buy this footage for? Ends up being one of the most popular documentaries in Netflix history, and he's a millionaire now.
Yeah.
But he didn't start with a substantial amount of money in his bank account.
None of them do. Like it's a lot of it's hard work and passion is what I've found. And people like excuses are the easiest thing to make. I made them for years. Like, to be honest, because I was so depressed at my old job, I didn't like it. I wanted social reform. I remember I had an old podcast I used to do with my buddy called Address This Mess, and it was just complaining about the world. We're like, we need this changed and this, and the government needs to take this. And I was just, I thought that everything needed to change to make me happy. And then eventually I just got sick of complaining, and I was like, dude, like, nothing's gonna change. Yeah. And then I was like, I just decided to start changing my life. I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about what anyone else is doing, and I'm gonna start like working on myself. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna it started with a lot of just self-discipline was a big one. It was like, I got sober, I quit drinking and partying.
Good for you.
I was doing that a lot.
Yeah.
And then it was like, stop eating crappy food. I started going to the gym, and then it was after that, it was like, what do you want to do? And it was comedy became the thing.
Yeah, and that's when you lost that 60 pounds then.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. You know what, that's my cheesy gym quote is, if you want your life to start working out, start working out. I always picture that'd be a good infomercial for something with the Ab Master 3000.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's something to be said about everyday body movement, just how you feel mentally and physically afterwards. You're just a better version of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go a few days where you might be sedentary or not a lot of movement, like you start feeling like garbage.
Yeah.
And then that can become habitual as well, where you're just used to feeling not fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, it's so easy, man. Like I don't know, once you just start asking, I started meditating a lot too.
Good.
That was another thing. There were like a few things like exercise, food, sleep, meditation.
Yeah.
That seemed to be the move. And then it was just asking yourself those questions and just over and over, like, how can I do this or what? Because I think your brain is a computer. Like, I think your brain is a problem-solving computer, and whatever you give it, it will try to figure out a way to solve it. So like, with the comedy, what started happening, like I was on the road, I was doing things, but then like the money, you're running out. And then you just start asking, well, how can I make money doing comedy? And then it was like, well, I need to do this. And then it was like, then you start paying attention. You're like, yeah, I need to book more shows. I need to start selling these tickets. And then it was like, you go and do some shows and the tickets don't sell. Then you start going, well, how can I sell tickets? You're like, hey, well, you need to put up posters. You're like, well, posters aren't working. You need to go and meet people. You need to do this for marketing. Then you start learning how to sell the tickets. And then it was like, okay, even at this rate, this is too small. Like, it's like, you get 50 people, you sell out, you can get $1,000, but then it's like after the RV with the gas and everything, and then paying another comic to come and do it and them to come up there. I'm like, dude, I made it $50. And I'm like, dude, like, that's what you've made, because you tell yourself you made more, but then when you start crunching the numbers, you're like, no. And I was like, okay, well, you need to scale this up. Like, we need to get into theaters or bigger things. And if you just ask your brain, it'll figure out, man. Your brain is like he's a pretty smart little dude up there.
Yeah.
He'll figure out how to do it for you.
And if you were to reverse engineer the Hungry for Laughs comedy tour that's in Prince George this Saturday night, March 12th.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to reverse engineer where you were when this concept first manifested in your head, like, I want to go back to my home city of Prince George. I'm going to bring a ton of amazing performers, comedians, Orissa Kelly. Like, like, you're bringing an all-star cast with you.
My dear.
Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of neat when you look back at like the trajectory of events that had to happen for all this to fall into place and happen.
Oh, it's
like
crazy.
When you messaged Sonny, and then Sonny brought this to the agenda for sponsorship meeting with John Brink, and right away John is like, yes, that is something we want to get involved with because it looks fun. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh because when you met with John and he provided you with the sponsorship check, and there's a photo online, there's literally like 3 messages from local females in this town being like, ooh, who's this gentleman? Like, is he single? Is he from Prince George? So you have a lot of fans in the female demographic.
Oh, perfect.
So just letting you know.
Oh, thank you. Until they hear the lisp and they're like, oh my God.
Hey, I have a natural lisp as well. So welcome
really,
to
buddy?
the club. Yes.
Put it there. I love it.
Lisp United.
Yeah,
I can't even say lisps. It's too hard.
We're the super spreaders of COVID. Hey, we're just put a mask on that lisp.
Yeah. And also, I want to talk about your podcast because
Oh, yeah.
you not only do you have a podcast, but you started with a vlog. So did the vlog turn into the podcast eventually, and it's called an experiment called life?
Yeah, so what ended up happening, because I wasn't even going to do comedy, honestly, at first. I was so frustrated with life. My whole plan was just to quit my job, sell everything. I was buying a camper van for me and my dog Finley, like a little one, and we were driving to Central America. And I was like, I'm going to go live on a beach and rent surfboards until I run out of money, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do then. And so I was like, I'll vlog the whole thing. I'm like, I'll call it an experiment called life.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Great
I chose
name.
that name because I think life's an experiment, and the solution I'm looking for is my happiness. So then I was like, okay, so we'll vlog the thing. And then what started happening is I started doing a bit of comedy. Actually, so I got cut from my hockey team. I used to play for the Quesnel Kangaroos in senior men's.
Okay. And you got cut from the Kangaroos?
Dude, yeah, buddy.
Bummer.
Oh, man, it was like, I was
That's
too
an
fat.
experiment you want to forget.
I was so fat, dude. Like, I gained so much weight. I showed back up to training camp. What happened, dude? It's a long story. So I was trying to sell my house, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where my hippy dippy stuff kind of comes in. I was trying to sell my house, and I had a realtor coming on Monday. On Sunday, I went to go check everything out. Well, I could hear water running. I'm like, what is going on? There's no one here. And then go downstairs, and the pipe is burst, and it flooded the basement. So then I remember crying and screaming like to my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm never leaving. Like, I'm trying so hard to get out of Prince George and get out and do something. And I remember just being like defeated, and I'm bawling my eyes out like I'm never gonna get out of here. And then my mom, a sweet lady, calmed me down. You know, she's like, look, Alex, this will be good. And she's always trying to teach me to find the positive. And her name's Coral, by the way, which is the same name as the mom in Finding Nemo who died trying to save the kids. And my mom brings that up all the time. She's like, see, the dad hid like a coward in the thing, and the mom went to save the kids, and she died. She's like, yeah, what does that remind you of? It's so funny, man.
So do you get your comedian traits from your mom then?
I think
more
my
so
dad's
from your
the
dad?
funny one, but my mom is...
combination?
Yeah, maybe like a little mix of both of them,
Nice.
yeah. But... So anyway, yeah, the house flooded, and then my mom was like, don't worry, like, this is all going to work out. Like, we'll get it like, the insurance is going to come. You're going to get a redone basement. It'll sell for more, all of that. And then we'll sell it in the spring. So I was like, okay, sweet. I'm like, I guess I can play one more year of hockey, which will be fun. I'll get to have like a goodbye year and do that. Well, then I got cut from the hockey team. And now I was really defeated. I was like, now I'm stuck here for another winter, and I can't play hockey. And I always told myself, play hockey as long as you can. Because when you can't, like, you can't go back to that level where, you know. And then after that, I was like, do comedy, because you could do comedy forever. Like, it's like, you know, you roll me out there in a wheelchair in my 90s. Do sit-down comedy. But yeah, so
You'd be like Axl Rose when he broke his leg, and he was the main singer for like AC/DC at the time, and he just sat there in like this king crown chair with his cast and just sang "Sweet Child of Mine" or TNT.
And then what it was is I was like, okay, fine, I'll start doing some comedy. And then the comedy started going well. And then I had some like very like Simon King, like a headliner from Vancouver.
Yeah.
He's right there,
Yeah.
my man.
Yeah.
That's my boy right there.
He has the best headshot ever.
Oh, I know. He just looks
It's like somebody was
terrified.
like, okay, we're going to take the picture on 3, but they took it on 1.
Oh, man, wait till you see what that guy's going to do at the show, man. It's insane. So he is so talented. Impressions, I asked him already. I'm like,
Is he
you got to do
impressionist?
No, but he does. He's too like... He doesn't like to do it because he feels like he's cheating. Like, it's like,
Really?
he's too good. Like, that guy could be one of the most famous people in the world if he would just sit there and do impressions. But he's has too much pride to be like, I'm not just going to be a puppet that
Who's
does
his best
impressions.
impression?
Oh, my favorite is Bill Burr.
Oh, really?
Why
Nice.
the chicken cross the road with Bill Burr? That's one of my favorite ones that he does.
Yeah.
He's got like Oprah Winfrey. He does all of them. He'll do like 30 of them. His new one he's doing is a Star Trek guy. I like that one.
Do you have certain comedians out there that you look up to personally, like maybe role models of yours, or some of your materials reflected
this guy
on that?
right here is one of
Ivan,
my big role models. Yeah, he's just so professional. The way that he approaches the game, like Yeah, these are like all of my favorite. These are my favorite performers that I've met, and the most talented people I've met in my years of doing this. And like, not just like in the country, in the world. Like with Orissa and Chris Turner, and Ivan and Simon. It's insane, the quality. And that was the whole thing where putting this together is I started seeing the level of talent that's out there that they just don't have the outlet to show it, really. Like, unless you're in America and you get a big label to sign you and produce you, like, these people are so gifted.
Well, comedians are also rare, right? I mean, like, there's not a substantial amount of comedians out there, because it is, like, you have to battle so much resistance in terms of being on stage or in the social media world. And we were talking about this before the podcast began, where, like, you're dealing with hecklers when you're on stage. You're dealing with people that don't want you to succeed. Like, this is the environment sometimes that you're working with. And then you go into the online world, and these haters just start coming out from all different directions. And you have, collectively, your videos have reached over 30 million people on TikTok.
Yeah, that's right.
And a lot of these people are going to be fans, but there's also going to be people out there that are just like, you suck, Alex.
Oh, yeah, man. A lot of people don't like
So
me.
how do you deal with the haters?
Oh, man, I just love the whole time. Every time I see a mean comment, I just I couldn't agree with you more. Like,
kill them with kindness.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole move. It took a minute. Like, when I first started getting outside hate, like, it was very, dude, it made me so sad. Because the whole thing, I was like trying to be like, you know, people have described me as a happiness cheerleader. Where you're like, just follow your dreams, do the thing. And it's like, and then to have these people out there just tell you that, like, you suck and they hate you and all of this stuff, and you're like, oh man, this isn't what I was hoping for. But then you realize that it's not about you. Like, it's not like my joke or what I'm doing personally hurt them, or is like the reason why. It's like that their life isn't going so well, and it's not working out the way that they had hoped. And that's exactly what I saw with, you know, some of the negative people at the mill, or just with I don't know, just how I myself was getting. Like, that's the thing. I was becoming the thing that I hated. And that's why I had to quit that job. It's because I remember when I started there and I'd see some of the grumpy old guys who've been there forever. I was becoming that. I was miserable to be around. And I was like, dude, what happened to you, man? And I felt like I let down like child Alex, like little Alex who had all these big dreams and hopes. And I'm like, dude, you're wasting it. Like, I always, you know.
Well, if little Alex from your childhood is in the crowd on Saturday night, he'd be proud of you for bringing this lineup to the Prince George Playhouse. But I look at that online correspondence, and sometimes it can get a little bit negative, but as the old saying goes, the main solution to bad speech is better speech. And so whatever kind of bad speech that you might witness, just counterattack it with better speech. And you don't want to drop down to that level where all of a sudden you get argumentative. Like, you know what, just kill them with kindness, or stay out of the comment feed.
Yeah, I honestly don't read them that often. I was going to say, do you want me to read some of them on here?
Sure, yeah.
If you want, we were talking about before, and I was going to read them. But it, like, I'll tell you, like, these are like within the last hour, some of the ones that we've got.
Wow.
And it goes here. This is from a guy named Bam Bam Millwright. Commented, your timing is terrible. Your jokes are way too clumsy. Just quit wasting your time. You're like, yep, like.
Thank you, Bam Bam.
Yeah, this one, no, that's your mom leaving the house, bud. She's done for a month. Don't really know what that means, but something about my mother. Having that haircut and those glasses. Are we allowed to swear in this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Having that haircut and those glasses is like shitting in one hand and wishing in the other. I don't know what that means by wishing.
At least I think if you're going to get negative comments, like, some creativity would be nice, right?
Dude,
like, or at least make it funny.
These ones are good. This one's a good one. This lady here, this is Bree Baker out there, 2Ks on Baker, thank you. You look like a greasier version of Roberto Luongo, so I wouldn't be talking. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a compliment.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, this one says, he does like the smell of shit. This other one, maybe try men. I think you're gay. That's a common one.
Wow.
Is this supposed to be a joke? Like, dude, yeah, greasy guy on the internet has shit opinions. it goes on, and this is like, yeah, those are within the last hour. So.
Well, shout out to Bree for the greasier than Roberto Luongo comic, because that's actually pretty good.
Oh,
the rest of them are horrific.
Oh yeah, some of them are funny.
That had to put a smile on your face a bit.
Oh yeah, well somehow I look like a crappy version of everybody. Like I get like Roberto Luongo, I get like Dollarama Chris D'Elia, I'll get like a knockoff Jason Momoa. I get like that Jorge Masvidal.
Hey, you're getting like professional athletes and probably one of the dudes that females fantasize most about, the Aquaman guy.
Yeah,
so,
right?
Hey, they don't take
No, I know. I take them all with
Yeah.
compliments. It's great. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
So you brought somebody special with you to Prince George already. She's already here.
Yep.
And she's in the studio right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think we bring her in?
I would love to.
Yeah.
They're like, it's my call.
So
like, actually, I don't want her taking the limelight. Can I talk about my suspenders for a minute?
Arissa Kelly in the house.
Hey, I'm going to bring this over so I don't trip everyone up.
Where do you want her sitting, Andrew?
Oh, man, I'm going to start
right here?
mimicking your accent
Yeah?
now.
Sweet. I smell of coffee.
What do you want to talk about?
Anything
What's your favorite non-domestic animal?
Non-domestic animal?
Yeah,
a giraffe.
A giraffe?
Oh, why is that?
Giraffe.
Just love giraffes?
I have actually seen them in real life, and I just think they're really cool and quirky.
Nice. Good answer.
Okay,
On the
perfect.
spot, too.
Oh, yeah, just nailed it. Yeah, she's been hanging out with me the last 3 days. She's like, I didn't know he's going to have something stupid at the beginning.
I'm prepared.
So this is very exciting, Arissa, because
I'm so happy to be
you're the
here.
first non-Canadian on the Crazy Damn Canadians podcast.
Yeah.
But you're a crazy damn Brit.
Yes,
so
I am.
You're more than welcome to be here, and we're super, super happy. Tell us a little bit about your background. So you're from England. Where about in England?
I'm from a place called Watford, which is north of London.
Okay, so like kind of northwest of London?
Yeah.
Okay.
Accurate.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And you grew up in England, and now you're a professional, what do you say, foot archer is the actual term?
Yes.
How the hell did you ever pursue this career that's taken you all over the world to see every continent? And just look behind you. Like, this is, you said South America?
Yeah, this is in South Africa, Cape Town.
Cape Town. Like, absolutely extraordinary that you can shoot. You can actually perform archery activities with your feet.
Yeah, it's
how did this
definitely
happen?
different. So I was a gymnast my whole life, since I was 3 years old. I was actually born hands first, so they would joke, like, I think your kid was born in handstand.
Wow. So this is how you're born, right?
Like,
here.
literally, with the bow in my finger. That's how I cut the umbilical cord. So I did gymnastics my whole life, before school, after school, training like pretty much for the Olympics. And that was my life, and I loved it. I loved to move. And then one day I realized, I was like, okay, I was slowing down in my career. I was about 17, and I kind of similar to what you said about hockey, like, it's hard to end that. Like, when that's been your life for so long, it's like, I was not ready to end that, but I was ready to stop competing. So I was like, well, maybe I'll get into aerial silks. Those are the silks that hang from the ceiling, and people
That's
fall
actually
down.
a really good workout.
Yes, and that's what I did it for. I was like, I'm super flexible and I'm somewhat strong, so let's see, maybe that will keep me fit. So I just go to a class, and this is the amazing way that the world works out, that my teacher, Julia, she was so incredibly humble, but I didn't realize at the time she was one of the biggest performers in the world. And she had been on the Jay Leno show, she'd been flown all over the world, and she was a contortionist and a performer. But she was slowing down, she wanted to have kids, so she started teaching more. And then she got pregnant, and she's like, hey, I can't do these gigs, would you like my gigs? And I'm like, you get paid to do this? I just thought this was fun. So I get actually the first ever gig that she sent me on. We thought it was a music video in Lebanon, in Beirut. So, I fly out to Lebanon, I'm like 17, and she's like, if anyone asks, you're 18. So I had to pretend that I was 18, and I literally took time off school. My mum called in and said I had tonsillitis, and then I came back with a tan, and they were like, interesting, tonsillitis. So I fly out to Lebanon, and I'm thinking, I'd only been doing it for 6 months, and I was like, okay, with music videos, it's like cut, start again. Like, if it doesn't go well, we've got multiple attempts. But there was a mixed communication along the way, and it wasn't for a music video. And when I got there, we found out it was for the X Factor Arabia Live Finals in front of 8 million people.
Wow.
Live.
A little bit of a surprise.
I was like, oh boy, I am not ready for this. And I trained on like 6 meters. I don't know if you do meters or feet here.
Yeah, we do either way.
Okay, so I trained on like 6 meters silks, and this was 20. And so I was not fit enough, and I was like, I'm not ready for this. So, I mean, what can you do? You're here now, and I didn't want to let her down. And I was like, okay, 17-year-old me, like, I wanted to run and cry, but I was like, nope, I've been given this crazy opportunity, and I'm going to do this. So I go out, I perform on live TV, and a huge TV audience as well.
Yeah. And who are the judges?
I have no idea. It was all in Arabic. I have no idea. So it was for the whole of Arabia, though. So it was like Dubai, Lebanon, all these Arabic countries watching live. And we were kind of like the guest before they announced the winner or something. So I perform, and I get down, and I hear this incredible applause. And then I run backstage, and I had like 10 minutes of free Wi-Fi. And instead of like updating my Facebook status, I went straight onto my university application, and I cancelled it because I knew in that moment, I knew as soon as I heard that audience applause, I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I'm going to be a performer. And then I called my mum, and I was like, hey mum, guess what? And she's like, what? How did it go? I was like, great. I cancelled my university application, and I'm going to be a circus performer. And, you know, any other parent would cry, but my mum, she's incredible, and actually she reminds me a lot of Alex's mum. Alex's mum is also amazing. And
did they watch Finding Nemo together?
I know they totally should. They're very similar. But my mum said on the phone, she's like, you know what? Just finish school, get your grades, and then if you do what you love, I will always support you.
Amazing.
And so I got into performing aerial silks, and I very quickly built up like a performance career, but I was only getting like maybe a couple of gigs a month, nothing really to live off of. And I was always trying to be the best at something. And then one day I was like, why be the best when you could be the only one? Be so different that no one else even compares to you. So I was like, I want an act that nobody else does. And then I came up with this crazy idea in my head, and I went, literally I had no archery knowledge. Like, no lessons, nothing.
So you didn't grow up as an archery athlete at all?
No,
Wow.
not at all. I just literally went to a hunting shop and was like, can I have a bow and arrow? And they were like, yeah, like what type? I was like, I don't know, the cheapest one. So I got like the cheapest bow and arrow, and then no one would let me train because, you know, like, this is a weapon, and I definitely didn't know how to use it at the time. So I had nowhere to train, and I really didn't have like any money. I was like 19 at the time. And so I went to a cricket field, which is like a baseball field, behind my house in winter. So, I mean, it's not as cold as your winters, but...
Well, you get that wet rain, right?
Yeah, we get rain, but it does get cold. It gets down to like -5 degrees. And I just started training every single day, 6 hours a day for 6 months.
6 hours a day?
Yeah, until I had one successful shot. And then when it happened after 6 months, I was like, this is possible. I can do this. And, you know, I wasn't doing much at the time, and I just became really fixated on this idea, and every day it grew more. Like, I could kind of see, like, maybe this is going to be something. And my goal was to get 1 extra gig a month. And then when I got my act, it's been my full-time career, and I've had gigs all over the world, and I've, you know, been in Wonder Woman, I got to perform for the Queen, and now I perform for NBA games. And like, I like to tell this story because it's like, I never woke up one day and said, this is my goal, I'm going to perform for all of these people. I had a really strong passion to create something different and do what I love, and along the way, all these wonderful things happened.
Amazing. See, Orissa, this is why I love talking to people like you and people like you, Alex, because you exemplify, especially to younger demographics, younger females, is you pursue your passion. There's going to be naysayers and people telling you not to do it and giving you a million reasons why you shouldn't, but you have to go after it. And you two are living proof of what happens when you follow your dreams. And I find it really admirable for both of you, because there's a lot of people, whether it's self-talk, telling ourselves that we can't do a certain thing, that voice in the back of your mind, you have to find a way to overcome that. And you have to find a way to plow right through that, and the both of you did that. I find it amazing that you performed for the Queen. And I find it even more amazing that you performed with Snoop Dogg
Oh,
in attendance.
I love that. He's
I'm like Queen here, Snoop Dogg right up here.
Right.
It's like, yeah,
That was at the
was
Go Big
Britain's,
Oh my god,
Britain's Got Talent,
that
or-
was actually the Go Big show. That was what brought me to the United States. So the pandemic hits. My career it's crazy. It was like 5 years of this wonderful career. I got to travel the world, and now I've performed in like almost 50 countries, which is just a dream because I've always wanted to travel.
Literally,
and
you're getting paid to see 50 different countries on this planet.
I know.
Not a lot of people can say that.
I'm so grateful. That's really, like, for me, it was always a goal. I wanted to travel the world, and here I am in Prince George doing that. I'm
it's
stoked.
mid-March and it's a blizzard out.
I know.
Like,
and I brought my snowshoes,
Yeah. I think we had 7 compliments in the hotel lobby.
I know. Everyone loves these boots. They're my happy
The
shoes.
Queen, Snoop Dogg, and now you get Dave from finance at our local RBC.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like when you perform in front of the Queen, like how did that happen?
That was really funny, actually. Like, I haven't posted about that one much because I had to sign all these things. Like,
Because I always thought it was Prince Andrew that liked young female
Oh,
performers.
he definitely does. Actually, I have performed whilst he was there.
Okay.
And everything is true. Anyway, so can't say much, but everything is true.
We'll leave it there. Secret Service. And
We don't need this shut down.
Dart through the window.
So I get this email one day, and I'm like, I think it's spam, and it's like, hi, I'm the butler for the Queen. When
The
it's
butler?
like, But when you get these emails like, hi, I'm this person from Nigeria, and I have $1 million to give to
I'm
you.
a princess trapped in a castle. Send me your visa.
It was kind of like that, and I was like, yeah. And then he's like, I have an event on this day, and I would really like to discuss more about it. But then at the end, there was the royal crest. And there's this whole block information of like, you're not allowed to send this email on. This is strictly, confidential and all of this. And I was like, okay. So I kind of emailed back. I was like, well, you never know. A gig's a gig. So I emailed back and I was like, are you for real? And then he ends up calling me, and he is in fact the Queen's butler.
Wow.
And he's like, hi, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm just going to say this anyway. So the Queen has a secret cinema club. So she has a secret cinema club.
Like adult-rated videos? Or?
Yeah. No, could you imagine? Then we definitely, that would get my head cut off.
I'm glad that you're saying it, not me. Secret cinema club. You're like,
It's a secret cinema club.
So every year she has, for her staff, an event where she basically has a cinema put up in Windsor Castle in the courtyard, a giant cinema screen, and they show a film, and it's for her staff. So that year they decided to do The Greatest Showman, and somehow the butler came across my work and was like, actually, it would be really great if we could have a performance before that and then do the show. And he sent me all this on the phone. I'm like, okay, this is for reals. This is crazy. So he's like, we need you to come to Windsor Castle and do a site visit. But they're very strict. Like anything, when you're in the same building as the Queen, you have to have a whole record thing done and give your birth certificate so they can check you out. So I had to go and do that, and I get to go to Windsor Castle and a tour around, like things that people pay for, but like I get to see that the quarters, like it's crazy. So I'm
you're
there.
pinching yourself, really.
No, I
like,
really
is
am.
this real life? Right?
Exactly. But this was the best bit of my career. Like one of the things that I was so excited about. I mean, performing for the Queen was great, but that day that I did the site visit, the butler asked me, do you need anyone to help you with your act? And no, I travel the world on my own. I can do it myself. But I was like, actually, I really do. I have an assistant, and it has to be this one person. And he was like, sure, like who do you need? And I said, I have to bring my mum with me because she's the only person that knows how to set it up, and she'll have to join me. And he was like, absolutely, we'll get her, checked out and all this stuff so she can join. And like, no, I didn't need to bring her, but I just thought like, this is the woman that has started my career. What better gift than to say, hey, do you want to come meet the Queen? So like when I told her, she was so excited. She went out immediately and bought her best dress and like had her hair done that day. And all she had to do was pass me the bow during my act. I've never seen anyone so nervous in my life. It made me nervous. She's standing at the side of the stage, shaking, not sure when to come on. I was like, I kind of regret this now, like, please don't mess it up. But then she comes on, does her bit, hands me the bow, walks off again. But she was so happy. She told all of her friends, I got to meet the Queen. And it was like that moment that, like, my whole life, I've always wanted to give something back to her, and I won't be able to ever repay her, but like to have a moment where she got to be a part of it on such a big event was just awesome.
That's magical. That is like Daughter of the Year award
No,
there, for sure. How do you top that?
I'm definitely the favorite child. I can say that.
It's so thoughtful, but what a bonding experience for your mom and you to have.
Yeah,
and
it was
that
awesome.
wouldn't have been possible if you didn't put yourself out there and actually try to pursue this new career.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Thank
you. Also performed for the Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh gosh, there's so much that we're going to talk after because it gets really crazy, but there's only so much I'm allowed to say without getting killed. I literally had to sign
it's going to be like a red sniper dot on your
forehead.
No,
seriously, halfway through this. Again, like every time you work for royalty, you have to sign all these non-disclosure forms, and they're very strict, and that's not a family you want to mess with, but it was in fact the craziest gig I've ever done in my life. I was flown out to, for the level of partying.
Oh.
Like some of the things that I saw there, I actually did it when I was like 18. That was the first time I saw drugs everywhere. Like it was right there in my face, and like I saw things that, think of Wolf of Wall Street, times it by 10, and that's not even a speck of how it was.
Wow.
And actually the prince himself didn't really engage in that stuff so much, but it was a show. It was a show, and it was crazy, and here I am like, this is madness. And actually, like, a lot of my events that I've done have been along those lines of like super crazy stuff happening. And I was saying to Alex the other day, like, I've never taken a drug in my life, and I really hold true to that. And part of that is because I've been around so much madness and these levels of intoxication and debauchery, I guess, that I see it and I see what it does to people. I see the situation. I don't really want to be a part of that.
When you witness that sober,
yes,
it's a game changer. Where you say, I don't want to be at that level where I'm either relying on this or need it just to function.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, because it's like when you're in that world, it's a lot easier to cope with some of the things you see and stuff by just becoming a part of that. But for me, I was like, I have this crazy life where I get to see things that you would only imagine in movies. I'm seeing this in real life. Like, I want to be sober so I can remember this all, and I can tell you one day I'm going to write a book about it, because it's really crazy, some of the stuff I've seen.
You have to write a book about just everything that you've witnessed with your own eyes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I think you need to have like a long, for the longevity of your career as well. Like I look at like the comedians who are really, like the ones that have long, healthy careers, they're generally, most of them are sober. Yeah. And it's because when you're out every night in that environment, everyone's drinking and partying, and it's like you can't. Yeah.
You can fall victim to that environment.
Oh, you're going to burn out, man.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden your career's ending short or sooner than anticipated.
The last thing you want to do hungover is get on stage in front of hundreds of people and talk. You know, you're like, I feel like garbage, and then they're like, all right, good dance, monkey. You're like, no, I don't want to do it. You're like, well, I'm going to have some more drinks to be able to do this. And
you don't want to be reliant on it for sure. I find that very.
Well, Orissa definitely can't. Imagine. I don't have a bottle of wine and get on the stilts here.
Someone would get shot for sure.
You've made so many impressive shots in your career. Have you ever had any of them go wrong?
This is so funny. It's probably my most asked question. Touch wood. In the early days, yes. And I really, like, people are surprised. I missed a lot in the first year of my career on stage.
God.
I know, he's holding the target for the show.
Oh, yeah, because We're going to get to that.
We're going to get to this.
Oh my
but
God.
he'll be fine. Just don't give
We'll
me...
be fine, you guys. Here's the thing. If she misses, I'm going to be really famous.
Well,
Yeah,
also,
so
just
finally.
don't give me a reason to miss. You're going to have to be extra, extra nice.
I'm
for the
sorry
next
about
few
that
days.
Tim Hortons this morning. We'll get you Starbucks after.
First time having Tim Hortons. What do you
Oh
call
my
them?
goodness.
Tim Nuts?
Tim
I
Nuts?
called them Tim Nuts, okay?
Can I have some of
didn't
Tim's
know.
nuts, please? I heard I gotta have them.
No
It's
idea.
like Timmy Nuts, please. That was amazing. But Alex and I got to witness you have your first ever Timbit, which
Yes.
is pretty cool.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
delightful.
amazing.
Oh, I loved it. They're in my bag. I can't
And the
wait to have them.
snow. She
Yeah,
saw
snow
snow in
and-
and she's like, is everything
excited.
canceled? Can we do the show still? What's gonna happen?
It's like the whole, like there's like 2 inches of snow and I was just blown away. It was so exciting.
Yeah, usually Prince George isn't this nice around this time of year, so you lucked out. Yeah.
I'm really, yeah.
I was telling her, I was like, we'll be fine. I'm like, no, everything's like, we'll get dumps of like feet of snow, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, look out in the parking lot, and it's all trucks. I'm like, that's why.
Yeah.
So that they're like, they just, I don't know, it's a different life, man. When you come up north, you're like, they're just, I like it. The people have a lot more character, man.
Absolutely.
You know, because
yeah.
they're just, you live a harder life. Like when half of the year you're dealing with this, you're like,
I think that's why people in this community really look out for one another, right? Like everyone has each other's back in this community because they know our winters are long and punishing.
Yeah.
They suck at times when it's minus 30 for 10
imagine
days
what it was
straight.
like 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Just trying to survive. You're like, I just got to gather enough supplies to last the winter.
Well, you see pictures from
Wood.
like 100 years ago of people, they look miserable.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah, they're
Well, I
just
don't
like,
think you were allowed to
"Sucks."
smile in old photos.
Yeah,
right?
no.
There was like every old photo is like a passport photo. They're like
Yeah.
everyone. They're like,
Yeah.
now look disappointed. Otherwise, we can't tell our kids. You know, you're like, you got to tell our kids how bad we had it. If you're smiling, they're gonna think we had a good life. Like,
Well, we do have it a little too easy these days. I mean, like,
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we
like
do.
our
I think we do.
conveniences, like we tend to complain about like pretty trivial stuff these days, right?
Oh yeah.
Going back to the act, so just to clarify for people that are going to be in attendance at the PG Playhouse this Saturday,
Yeah.
you're part of Orissa's act. What is that going to look like? Actually, maybe you want to explain.
Yeah,
So
I don't really know yet.
we're getting to that. We still need a rehearsal.
Oh God!
He's definitely trusting me a lot. So I obviously perform this rather unusual act that involves acrobatics, and so I will be doing different kind of acrobatic tricks and stuff, and then I end with shooting a bow and arrow with my feet in handstand with the arrow on fire. And then I may or may not be bringing out Alex to hold the target and do it yet again and hope for the best.
So wait. Let's just back this up a little bit. Define holding the target. Like, are
Like
you
he's holding the target
in
in front of his
front of-
nuts.
In front of my nuts.
in
Yes.
front of your Timbits?
She told me, she told me it's like a.
That's why you had nuts on the
problem.
microphone. Yes, I get it now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm like, we better like a big tape on the floor, like we measure twice. We'll figure this out.
I'm going to have
Wow.
a shot beforehand.
You know, we have Jeff and Andrew over here. I think we almost need to record the rehearsal part of this because that's going to be a hoot in itself.
Honestly.
Yes.
Like 99.9%, everything's fine. But yeah, that 0.1.
Just hit the
Just-
right heart.
That 21, yes.
She's like aiming for the heart, right?
Well, I
Yeah.
can say God, I don't even like saying this, touch wood. I've not missed my target in 5 years.
Oh God,
That's
she's
real.
due.
But I had, like
She's
I was saying
definitely
before,
due.
I've missed because I have to, that's how you get good, is by failing, so.
Failure way to success.
I was watching her at Magnum the other day doing the thing, and like the stilts are shaking, and you're like, oh God, she looks a little shaky. And you realize, like, because you watch it and you see the clip, right? And you see it on there, and it's a very impressive. And then when you watch it live, though, you realize, you're like, oh, this is like live. Like it could, like
it
what
could
if,
go wrong,
if
for
that
sure.
thing slips out of her toe or the other thing, or like, and you're like, oh man, like, anytime you're on TV, you're just like, it goes good, you know?
Yeah.
So I know what you're going to be thinking about while you're trying to fall asleep tonight. You're just going to like, what if?
Oh man, I'm melatonin enough. Just videos of puppies. Well, yeah, I know. I'm like, that's what I have to like mentally. I've been mentally preparing for this because I mean, I've skydived and done a bunch of like the risk-taking stuff. I love it.
Skydiving's a little bit different. I mean,
well, the thing is, that's in my hands. Now my life is in her feet. You know, that is the thing here.
I mean,
happening.
that's a really good point.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is, over the next few days, I'm just gonna make sure I don't step on her toes. You know.
Wow.
Keep it simple.
Knowing that it could be game over for you. For these feet right here. If they
Look
don't
at these
perform
spots.
well,
that's
yeah,
why these are
so protected. You should be massaging those feet
I
later
was
just
just
to make
gonna
sure
I
say
know,
they're
they'll get you
soft.
loose.
Yeah.
What if they get you loose and we change something up, you know? I know the whole time I'm like, just don't flinch. I just have to hold it and just like, and it's all recorded and filmed, so you're like, look happy. Don't look terrified.
Well, I'm glad that there's been such a welcome in to this comedy show with the 7 p.m. show already sold out.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful of tickets left for the 9:30.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to include
it's been amazing.
Yeah,
like,
we're going to include the link in the podcast online here for people who want to get those 9:30 tickets.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy that you were able to fly in on a clear day to Prince George, because that flight over the Pacific Coastal Mountains when you leave Vancouver heading towards Prince George, that's world-class scenery.
So beautiful. Oh my goodness. Like I adore flying. I do actually last year I did 86 flights for the year.
Oh, that's
so
1 out of every 6 days.
Yeah, like sometimes on a busy week I'll do like 9 flights a week. So my life is either in a hotel or on an airplane. But I adore looking. I'm a window seat girl, and I love to look out and see how incredible this world is. And it's always a reminder of like I'm seeing these mountains yesterday, and I was like, the world is so big, and our problems are so small, you know. And it's just, it always humbles you and reminds you like there is so much more out there. And me doing what I do, I love to encourage people to travel, because you learn so much. Like, I'm going to learn so much by being in Prince George and meet so many spectacular people that I would never have if I didn't leave my home, if I didn't pick up a bow. And I think you learn more than any classroom by getting out and exploring the world. And
the fact that you literally get to explore full time. You know, it's not just working a 9-to-5 career where you get to go on 1 or 2 vacations a year to explore. Like, every week, every weekend, every few days is a different exploration adventure.
Yeah. It's rare for me to do the same show twice. So like we'll have 2 shows in the same day, but like it's rare for me to come back and do the same venue, same show. So like, yeah, I'll be in a different state or a different country almost every other day. And I love that. I love change. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about how as humans we are addicted to the new, like to see new things. That's why we want the new iPhone, and we want to go to the new place or meet another person, you know. So
Well,
I definitely get that
important.
fix.
It really is. And I have a quote on my goal spank bracelet, because I'm a big fan of setting goals and people writing down, thinking on paper. But there's a quote on the inside of this, and it says, when's the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh, I love that.
Right.
That's so good.
I believe you should ask yourself that question every day. When is the last time you did something for the first time? And always, even if it's just little things, you know, like trying a new cafe or anything, just like always look for these first time experiences to incorporate into your life every day. Otherwise, we're just robotic. We're just in airplane mode doing the same shit every single day.
Well, that's just existing.
I do find that with creativity is getting out. Like, I do a lot, so I write every day, and I always do it at like the same place. And then, you know, it gets stale pretty quick. And so once a week, like, try and go somewhere. And like, last week I went down to Granville Island to a cafe. I just sat at the market there.
Some fresh food.
And I wrote a new joke now. I'm so excited to do it this weekend.
So you have some new bits?
A brand new joke.
Nice.
Dude, I did it once. I wrote it last Saturday. I was opening for Stavros at the House of Comedy. I tried it, and it went well, and I was so happy, dude.
Nice.
And I was like, and I don't think I would have came up with that if I didn't go and change my environment and just get on to a different place, because your brain starts making new connections and stuff, right?
It
and
keeps
you're like,
you young.
Well, I hope you get to experience a bit more of Vancouver after Prince George, because one of the most gorgeous cities in the world.
So beautiful.
It would have been nice if you guys had a Calgary show after this, and then you can drive out east from Prince George into the Canadian Rocky Mountains.
Oh,
go to
that sounds nice.
And then the ice fields up to Banff, like that.
Yeah,
people
we're working on doing a whole Western swing here for but it'll be in the fall.
And Mount Robson's only 3 hours east of where we are right now, and it's the highest peak of the Canadian Rockies, and one of the most. This is Bird Lake. So,
oh my gosh!
Sorry, this is actually Kinney Lake.
Oh my goodness, that's stunning.
So if you see that little open in there, like you could walk to the side across Kinney Lake where it's frozen. Goodness. But my girlfriend and I were here last weekend hiking, and I actually grabbed a rock out of Kinney Lake. So that's Mount Robson from the highway. And so I grabbed a rock out of Kinney Lake, Mount Robson.
Oh, wow.
So bring that back to England with you.
No,
and,
seriously?
Yeah, and now you have a piece of Mount Robson that's going back to England.
It does look like a mountain.
It does, right? So
oh my goodness,
it was just
so
kind
special.
of like all these rocks were like pretty dirty from the winter melt, but this one was like literally shining in the water.
That's so wonderful.
Now bring
Thank
that back
you.
to the UK.
Now we have to go.
That's probably the only rock from Mount Robson that's going to be in the UK. But,
oh my gosh, I feel so special.
So next time you're in Canada, like, get Alex to bring you out to Mount Robson, the Rocky Mountain Trench, Banff, the ice fields.
For sure.
Incredible.
I mean, Canada, I've been really lucky. I've been here a few times in different areas, and it's just so beautiful. And it's quite crazy how, you know, the West, like Vancouver area, BC, is so different to the East. Quebec, I lived in Quebec for like 6 months, and it's so
beautiful. You lived
beautiful.
in Quebec?
Yeah, I did. I lived in Quebec City for 6 months.
No, I hear Quebec City is amazing, though.
It's stunning. I love it there.
Can you speak French?
No, not at all. I'm like the most English person in the whole of the world. It's so annoying. I definitely can't. But I absolutely love Canada. There's so much to see. And like, I haven't been able to explore as much as I'd like to, but I'm hoping that I get the chance.
Well, there's that comparison graphic online where it shows the entirety of the United Kingdom fitting inside the province of British Columbia, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's how much country we have, where if somebody's been to Canada once or twice and says, yeah, I've seen Canada, you really haven't, because there's every single province is unique and different. It's like every single province is its own individual country.
Well, that was,
in terms of attributes.
When getting out on the RV, when we were talking about that earlier, that was the thing, man. Like, when I got out and I started to drive around, like, went up to the Northwest Territories in the dude, amazing. Like, at 1 in the morning and you're watching the sun just set on whatever the lake is. I don't know. The
Yellowknife is a really cool city. Yeah, really clean, like diamond revenue.
Dude, it's beautiful, man, up there. I can't wait to go back.
We had a podcast guest on here a few weeks ago. His name's Dana. He actually walked across Canada. He did the Transcontinental Trail, and it's not just like a east to west walk where you're just in a straight linear line. Like, with the trail, it's very volatile across the provinces. So I think he went through 27 pairs of hiking boots. It was over 21,000 kilometers that he walked, and he did about 40 to 50 kilometers a day, and he got to talk about like all the different towns, small communities, like
how long
towns you don't hear about.
take?
It took him 10 years.
Wow, 10 years.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
Yeah, 10 years.
Jeez,
wow.
man.
What a story. So he's actually in the process of writing a book and starting like a mini documentary about it. Just a great guy. Oh yeah, nice work, Andrew.
There he is.
That's him.
Wow,
Dude,
that's
what
far out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what I'm going to have to do to
The
tour
Great
with these
North
new
Trail.
gas prices. So. Dana.
This could be you. Follow
Yeah,
us.
buddy.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'll send you the podcast link. It's a very inspiring story.
Would he be like my Sherpa?
Yeah, he would.
He
Yeah.
could guide me. He's
Yeah.
like, look, buddy, like, we can go that way, but that's an extra pair of hiking boots. Like,
Between
we
the
go this way, we save 2 boots.
Between the two of you guys have 160 pounds of luggage, and you get 5 pounds of it. So,
Yeah,
there you
perfect.
go.
Great.
So I want to talk a little bit more about this Saturday night. So
Yes.
what should fans expect in terms of your performance, Orissa?
Blood.
No, not the joint performance. Yeah.
Something different. I like to make people see what's possible with their body and what practice takes, and hopefully they will walk out and be like, well, I've never seen that before in real life.
Well, they'll definitely walk out thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when Alex is on his way to the hospital.
Yeah.
Well,
and then we have a really good video clip for
And
YouTube
we got a
that
late
goes
show,
viral.
so Scott, we might need you to step in for the late show.
Nice, I'll be your surrogate for the 9:30 show.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
And I also have a really important question. It's actually the number one question I want to ask in this
My
podcast.
favorite color is purple.
Perfect. All right,
really?
awesome. Is that really your favorite color?
Yeah.
It's a great color.
Yeah, thank you.
I can see that.
Nice. You're always dressed sharp.
Oh,
Like,
thank
Yes.
I feel like whenever you
yes.
walk into a room, you know, a Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top, that should just be pounding.
That's why you're asking influences. That's from this guy, Ivan.
So
because he's the guy who made it out, like, not that you're trying to get out of Canadian comedy, but he's in America now. He's on Netflix. He's a Juno Award winner. the way that guy carries himself in comedy, just pure professional. Like he's up there, he's working hard every day, and everything about him, you go, wow, this is a professional entertainer. So when you see him, you go, oh, this is why I'm paying so much for a ticket, because this is a professional. Where a lot of the comics, they'll, you know, you see them wearing like hoodies or sweatpants, and like, it's just not, and you don't need it. There's no way to do it, but that guy is the one who got me like, well, between him and my ex-girlfriend, they got me kind of sharp enough.
Well, when you look good, you feel good, right? I missed that one. Was that a low blow?
That was great.
It's okay.
It was a little dig, sorry.
Yeah, that was great.
Hey, we promote those around here.
That's so good. I like it.
You're taking all this hate in the online world. You can't even do a podcast without getting ripped out.
I know. We spent too much time together. That's what's happened.
Yeah. I bet there's some good banter that goes back between the two of you. Right?
No, we never even talked about where we met, right?
How did you guys meet?
Well, in Australia, in Perth.
Yeah, I was there doing the Fringe festivals, so that was like my first big, that was a really exciting time in my career. It was like right before the pandemic. I did some comedy festivals here, and I met a producer from Australia. Cool. And he was just like, hey man, like you're great, you're funny. If you ever want to come out to Australia, like let me know. And
hell yeah.
I was like, yeah, like now? Like are we going now? Or and then so I ended up getting on the Fringe circuit out there, and you start in Perth. And then one of the shows
is kind of on the west side.
West Coast, the far west coast, And then a bunch of us comedians were like, oh, let's go see a show tonight after our show. And Orissa was part of, what was your...
Fuego Carnal. It was a fire show, and I was doing lots of fire and arrows and all sorts of things.
Yeah. And
it was meant to be.
Yeah, that was super cool.
You guys were meant to meet.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And now you're going to collaborate on these exciting, cool as hell events together?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, if you go back in my vlog, you can see me on there. It's like, I just saw a girl shoot an arrow with her feet, and I'm in love. It's like, oh my God, she could shoot that through my heart. And I just remember messaging her, and then I started following her, and then it was just, every few months I'd message and reach out to her, be like, oh man, you're killing it. Like, great to see you.
A friendship has really evolved then.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I don't even. I told you this when I first met you at first. Okay.
I was a lot bigger.
Okay, can I just say I love you, Alex? I thought he was. A homeless.
Oh my God! No. Well, she knew I was homeless.
No, but this is okay. But the reason why I'm saying this.
Calling the Saudi police to wire in money. You're like.
No, you had like a hood on, and you like had like this beard, and you were like totally like dressed different, and you were a bigger guy, and all these things.
And the beard,
and just totally different. And I'm like, okay, he's cool, sure. But now, like, I've been able to see you in the last few years just grow, like not just like in your career because you were killing it, but in your personal life. And like you're talking about the way he dresses, like he did not always dress like this. But like you've developed so much, and it's like a gift for me to be able to watch you just do what you love and then see how it's completely evolved your life and you as a person. And it's really an honor for me to like come back to see kind of the place that you started in, when I've seen like so much of your journey in a short time. Like that was 2020. So it's not been that long.
2 years.
You've gone from homeless to famous comedian.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're the best dressed homeless person in the world.
Yes!
So my friends told me, they're like, dude, you step out of your RV and you look like you just closed a merger. Like a professional RVer.
Yeah, but it goes back to the, when you look good and you dress good, you feel good.
Yeah,
well,
100%.
that's the thing is, I just like, one thing that changed, like confidence is such a big part of life. And I think confidence is built day by day by just, it's like, don't try and build the wall. They say like lay the one brick as good as you can. And then I just started, like, I got to the kind of like the I am point. Like before I used to say like, I'm trying to be a comedian, right? Like I'm going to quit my job and try to become a comedian. Now I'm like, I am a comedian. And then it's like, and just the way you carry yourself, and to be around Orissa, like you see, like she's got millions of followers, and you're like, this is like, you're like, oh my God. Before I'd have been like, oh my God, don't look at her. You'd be so nervous, and then you realize, you start meeting people, and you're like, they're just people. Like people are people, and if you carry and present yourself like, I used to, I don't know. I guess I have higher self-worth now, and it's a balance between ego and confidence, right? Like you want to be confident, you don't want a big ego, but that is where, you know,
you want them to be, you don't want them to be correlated. You want a negative correlation between ego and confidence. Like when your confidence going up, you want to find a way to dissolve your ego simultaneously.
Right, yeah. Which that happens a lot in comedy very quickly. So, you know, and that's one thing that helped a lot in life. After you've been booed off stage by a couple hundred people, you're like, when you meet someone who doesn't like you, you're like, oh, buddy, you're one person. Like, it's fine.
It's such a... There's such an experience in failing when you're bombing, right? Like you don't want to do that again. You never want to get to that position where you bomb again. So what are you going to do? You're going to go back to the drawing board and work harder, create new material that's not going to bomb, and
or quit.
Quit. Or quit.
Well, it sets you up for life, you know.
Well, that is the thing, and it's sorry to cut you off there, but no, that is the thing. It is. It's like, how is this going to happen? I had that happen in Australia. Like, I was over my head in Australia. Like, I got there and I had my own show. I was doing an hour a night every night. And you're like, I did not have an hour. Like, I had an hour of all my material ever, stretching it, trying to get to an hour. And then I remember the first weekend, it was all sold out shows. And I went up and I just ate a bag of dicks. For like the first show went good, second show, and the third show went bad. And I was like, dude, you got to figure something out because you're here for the next 3 months doing this every night. Like, every night. And I was like, oh my God.
That's a lot of pressure, a full hour of content. What would you say like the sweet spot is for time and for a comedian? Like 15 minutes or 30
well,
minutes?
It depends. Like these headliners do like a true pro headliner does an hour.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Typically a Netflix special, like an hour or 90 minutes.
Yeah, like an hour roughly. 45 to an hour seems to kind of be the headline spot. Dude, like for like just straight smashing is usually like 20 seems to be like that's the sweet spot.
And that's where you go full throttle.
Where you don't have to, you just like, you cut out all the little like gaps, everything, just pack it in tight, and you just hammer like foot on the gas.
Yeah. Like any other skill, being a comedian, like you're always working on your craft, right? Always on timing and like slowing down speech and pronunciation on some things and extra lisp on others. Like you want to make sure it's perfect, right?
We were talking about that, Orissa and I, because we were talking about my new bit that I just wrote, and I was telling her I'm a little nervous to do it because I'm like, hopefully, like if people don't get on board, but I'm saying like I have 3 different exit strategies on the bit, so like it's like the whole chunk is here, but I'm like, you'll lean into it with this, and then gauging on the audience's reaction at this point in the bit that I know that I can take it to the next point. Nice. And then seeing if they go with that one, I can go to the next one, but you're slowly bringing them to the like, are they willing to go here with me? And it's like, if they're not, you're like, don't go to the next one and dip out and move on. But
it's amazing how much you're there, you're present, but you're still thinking about what you're doing whilst trying to be funny. That's hard.
There's a lot of balls in the air.
And that's where you get to as you start getting better at it. Like Orissa and I were talking about like our acts, and she was saying, you know, the more she rehearses and knows her act, then the more freedom and playtime she can have up there because she knows what she's doing. So it allows her to decide.
What am I doing? You're like thinking, okay, how can I gauge this? How can I play with this?
Because overthinking can be your worst enemy too, right? My favorite alliteration in the world is proper preparation prevents piss poor performances.
Yes.
That's something I've always stuck to my life.
That's a lot of P's.
That's a lot of P's.
Well, that is the thing, dude. Whenever I would get stressed out for shows, it was like a homework assignment that, you know, it was like the longer you waited to do it, the more anxiety it gave you, and it would just get worse and worse. It was like if you just did it right away, you're like, oh, man. And that's what I find with like comedy. It's like, just if you just do the work and you're prepared, then you go in and you're like, I'm going to be fine. Like anytime I ever would get nervous, I would just like go over my jokes. I'm like, oh, these are funny. I'll be fine. You got it. You know what you're doing.
So this is a question for the both of you, and you can answer individually. What piece of advice would you offer the younger generation and somebody that might want to pursue a goal, or they've been thinking about trying something, but they've got a lot of pressure to go to university or do other things that's going to satisfy their parents or their friends or other family members? What kind of advice would you give to this younger generation, or just really anybody in life? You were 31 when you made the big leap, right? Like, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that wants to follow their passion, but they're a little afraid?
I mean, I look back at my life. I've been performing for 7 years now, and I think I have a large world map in my house, and I put crystals everywhere I go, and I always come back to that map, and I think I've gone to over 50 countries now. I've done hundreds, probably thousands of flights, and I think of all the people I've met along the way. And then if I start taking them away and I get back to the core, it was the one day that I said, I'm going to do what I love. And if I hadn't said yes to something that terrifies me and put myself out there when I really didn't know how it was going to turn out, all these incredible things that have happened in my life would never have happened. And so I think it's really important to show people, not just tell them, but show them, like, this is what I've done with my life. And now the way the world is developing and the internet and all these things, we have even more opportunities. So what could you do with your life if you do something that scares you? And yeah, there was so many times that I was told, like, you're going to fail. This is a bad idea. Do you know how many people laughed when I said, I'm going to shoot arrows with my feet? Like, it's ridiculous. But I had to show people. And all that did was create this fire in my heart. And I was like, I'm going to show you what I can do. And I always come back to that when I'm like, okay, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be hard. And now I honestly, I look at my life, and my biggest achievement is not necessarily like the specific events, but has been able to do what I love for this long. And I hope that, you know, my story and Alex's story can show people that it really is possible. You can do what you love, and life is so much better because of it.
Wow.
Good amazing. Good.
Yeah. Good luck topping that, Alex.
Yeah.
But what you said is
say
yes to things that terrify you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's brilliant advice. If anybody watching just wants to take one single line out of this podcast, saying yes to things that terrify you. I love that. And just, you know, you stopped, in a lot of ways, you stopped talking about it and you took action. So it was no longer trying to explain or articulate verbally what you're going to do. It was watch me.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, the whole fear thing is, like, it doesn't have to be, I'm going to do something that terrifies me today that's completely, you take it in baby steps. For me, funnily enough, talking to a stranger is really scary, which is ridiculous because I'll go on stage and I'll perform in 20,000 people in a room and I feel completely at home. But talking to a stranger on the street is like it gets me. It's frightening. So I would do that regularly just to put myself out of that comfort zone a little bit.
That's why she talked to me at the festival. She's like, I'll talk to this homeless guy for a minute, try to get myself out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. And then look what it brought me. All the way to Prince George.
I just showed her my home the other day.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Comfort zones are exceptionally overrated.
Yeah.
Right? And people...
They're dangerous,
They're
think.
very dangerous, too. People tend to stick within them, right?
Yeah.
So good for you for noticing that and deliberately pushing out of those comfort zones.
Risk is where all the reward comes, man. Like, I really think, like, the safer something is, the less fun it is, right? Like, that's why the funnest ride at the fair was, like, the zipper. It was, like, that thing that, like, some carny put together that afternoon while he was, like, smoking a blunt. And then he's, like,
there's,
just
like, dangling wires.
Yeah, and then there's just, like, loose nuts, and you're like, is that crucial to the ride? Or, like, this is exciting. It's where, like, when you went on, like, the swirly one, you're like, this seems well put together. We're going to be fine. I know how this one ends, you know? I don't know how this is going to end. And that's the exciting part, man.
Well, speaking about excitement, not only the countries that you've seen and the venues that you've been to and the places and individuals you've interacted with, all of that happened in the physical world, which is amazing. But you've also been able to share your journeys and your passions and your various skill sets with the digital world, which is a completely different audience in itself from even more than 50 countries.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell.
Exactly. Like, what has it been like for the both of you to reach over 30 million people on TikTok, to see
one video do that,
to see your social media handles just significantly grow, and
it's incredible. I mean, actually, it's really funny. I think I have a friend that's also like really big into TikTok. She's also a performer, and she said to me once, like, you know, some people are like, oh, you know, you're so addicted to your phone or this and that. And, you know, I think the internet can be a really good place or it can be a really bad place depending on how you use it. But the way I see it is like, I want to perform and share my art and share my message to the world. And now the internet has given me a platform where I can do that for millions. And I can get people in different countries and I can inspire people across the world with one simple video. And for me, that, you know, there's pros and cons to it. It means that not everyone's going to like what you do. And then some people, like, if just one person gets out of bed and is like, I want to do something today because I saw this video or I saw this message and I'm going to do something great with my life. Like, you have access to millions now. So for me, it's like, I think it's a real gift if you learn how to use it.
You never know who you're inspiring.
You never ever do.
Or offended.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, no, it
He's
is
pretty good
like
at that.
you do, like the amount of like people that reach out, like those are, it's a pretty special, man.
Like somebody's going through a tough time, and you make them
Yeah.
laugh.
Oh, dude, yeah. I had a kid who was at the Children's Hospital in BC reach out to me and say like, "Hey, man, like, I've got, like, not good, life-threatening or whatever. How do I say? I'm so awkward. Look how awkward I get with it. He was dying from cancer, this kid. And anyway, he messaged me and said that my jokes, he watches them every day, and it helps him make his day better. And so
doesn't get any more
cool.
motivating
So I got to
than
go
that.
and send him a hoodie and do all that, which was really cool. And you're like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Like, yeah,
that's amazing. So I think we should show a quick video of exactly
Oh,
what is
gosh.
it you do, because we've talked about it a lot, but I think we actually need the video footage.
Oh my gosh.
Just to.
I actually get awkward watching myself.
Oh,
Oh my god. Why did you do something this way? I'm like,
Hello, love.
Hello,
What's your name?
my name's Orissa Kelly.
Oh, Rissa, that's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
All right,
All right,
shall
darling,
we?
good luck.
Yeah, let's
Thank
see
you.
it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
okay, come on.
who's that?
these are all famous people in England. So cringe. It's like when you look back at old school photos, except this one's live on the internet for everyone
Sorry,
to see.
there's only a few million interactions. Wow. It's one hell of a back bend.
Oh, you'll see my mum in a second.
Oh, she was here too?
Yeah, she's in the
Nice.
crowd. She was more nervous than me, as per usual. Wait, here's Mama Kelly. Mama Kelly!
Nice. Yeah, she's less nervous, eh?
She gets really nervous. No, this is the same bow I use now.
Traveling with that must be tough, eh?
Oh yeah,
Customs.
that's fun.
Wow. Look at that arm strength, that core strength.
The canes, there's something small.
Yeah, they were.
Things are developed.
Down. That's gonna be me.
Oh! Nails it.
No
Oh,
one
look at
died.
the victory dance too there. eh?
Yeah.
So this was in the UK?
Yes, that was in the UK a fair few years ago, actually.
Good for you.
So that was it's crazy. I had only been performing that for like 6 months, so I was like missing my target every now and then. So that was like
That
it
could have
does
gone
kind of-
either way.
It could have gone either way.
That's what makes it so much more brilliant. The
Yeah,
fact that you
it's-
nailed those
You know,
shots,
I was
especially
like,
that last
it
shot.
was that 1 minute of like, I have got to do this. Like the world is watching, and I knew that if I did miss the shot, that was going to make great TV too. So they were kind of hoping that I wasn't going to do good.
I guess, eh?
So and that really kick-started my career.
Out of anybody in the crowd, though, like even though those 4 famous judges were right front and center, like at the end of the day, you want to make your mum proud.
Oh
right?
yeah, for
Right?
sure.
That's what it's
for sure. I just wanted she'd come all the way. Actually, she helped me like decorate my target and all these things. Like she's always been such a part of it. So I just want to make her proud. And
All right. What's your mom's name?
Danielle.
Danielle. All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Danielle.
Oh,
there we go.
Mama Kelly.
Mama Kelly. Yeah. Actually, shout out to both your moms.
Yes,
they both sound
Carl.
like amazing
She's
human
such a
beings.
legend.
Oh, my mom is like, she helped put this whole event together, man.
Perfect.
She does so much for me.
Perfect.
So lucky.
We always end our podcast with one question to all of our guests, and that is, if you could think of any Canadian in the world, and I'm going to have you answer this first, Alex, and then you, Orissa.
Thank you.
If you could think of any Canadian in the world, they could be dead or alive, that you could just sit down and have a conversation with, have a beer with, or well, you don't drink, just sit down and
Oh,
talk
I've
to.
been drinking again.
Okay.
I'm getting shot with an arrow. I was like, oh,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. You've been drinking since you found out about
Exactly,
that. All right.
yeah.
If you could have a conversation with any Canadian out there, who would it be and why?
Oh, man. Any Canadian out there. It would be John Brink.
Nice.
Cool.
Yes.
Great answer.
Because I read his book, and he's got a lot of good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great. Actually, do we have a copy of that book somewhere?
I have one in. Oh, we have another one. I have a.
He's
I
not
have one in
Canadian,
my
though,
handbag.
is he?
You know, he is. Yeah.
Well,
So-
does he count as a Canadian?
Yeah,
'Cause
he's a
imported?
dual citizenship. So yeah, Holland and Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a good answer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There'd be like a hockey player, maybe 2 in there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the Luongo, right? Just your
Yeah,
doppelganger.
Roberto,
There
yeah,
you go.
talk to
Imagine
him.
the two of you walking on the seawall together in Vancouver. People would be like, well, it's like the Italian version of the Sedines.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. Oh, man.
That would be great hockey. You and Luongo versus Daniel and Henrik Sedin.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
we're talking.
Yeah, that would be good. We would have shut
there
him
we
down.
go.
Awesome.
Goalie. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Against
Oh,
all
yeah.
odds.
I'm super excited to read this.
And you just demonstrated how flexible you were as well. When
Yes.
Wow. That is
Okay, my turn. You're taking all the limelight here.
Oh boy. He's gonna snap.
John, thanks for the book.
You're gonna rip a Tim nut. Just
Yeah.
be careful.
Okay, I'm using John's number 2 rule here. I'm trying to maximize my undervalued assets. Okay?
That's
what
rule
I'm
number
doing
7.
here.
But phenomenal
Look at
book.
this as
I'm
you
excited.
find an opportunity in a niche market, then dominate it.
Yes.
love
Well,
that.
you
You're
found
a
your
very
niche
niche
market.
market.
Yeah.
Very niche. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, John literally came to Prince George in 1965 with $25.47 in his pocket. Didn't know the language, one set of clothes, one suitcase, and throughout the last 55 plus years, he's done so many great things in our community. Just a great person and a great supporter of the comedy show. This Saturday
Yeah.
night. As soon as he heard
Oh,
about
yeah,
it,
So
he said, "Let's
grateful.
do it."
No, dude, he's a huge part. This is happening, man. Like without your guys' help and John reaching, doing that, he made this very possible. So
Well, it comes down to connection, right? You want to collaborate and connect with like-minded people who are doing exciting, great things that are providing value to others and also benefiting the community. Like
yeah.
it's a really heavy time out there right now, and
Well,
and
that's the thing, man. Like we just got the mask mandate lifted today,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, let's laugh our masks off,
Totally.
dude. This is
Our-
gonna be
Oh, that's
amazing.
Our-
Yeah.
like the world just got its ass kicked by a 2+ year global pandemic. I think like what's happening in the Ukraine right now, which is just devastating. Like I think we need to laugh more, and I think we really just need to treat each other as human beings.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I promise at
absolutely.
this event, like at this event, you'll leave and it'll be something you'll remember for the rest of your life. This will be something that, it will be like the kickstart to the end of COVID. You'll get to see people enjoying themselves. You'll forget all the hate and the anger and the terrible things going on. And yeah, man. And then we're also giving back to the Salvation Army. I'm so excited
Amazing,
about that,
yes.
man. The food bank.
So there's a philanthropic aspect to the event, not just this event, but all your events.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So we're launching a new tour line too coming up, Comedy for a Cause.
Nice.
And I think we're going to try to work with some women shelters and stuff and do that. You know what I thought of this morning? I don't know why we got this stand up to hunger, it's no laughing matter. Why not laughing all the way to the food bank? Laughing all the way to the bank?
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Laughing all the way to the food bank. Like, come on, Alex. How did you not think of that? I'll have to do that for our market.
Save that
for next
tagline for your next campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that one.
Orissa, favorite Canadian
okay.
Alex
of all
Mackenzie.
time.
I was going to say that, but I was like, no, I don't need to do this for his head. No, honestly, I was thinking like, what Canadians do I know? And then I was like, oh my gosh, the mother of all performance, one of the best live performers in history, I think, Celine Dion.
Nice.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
And I've
from
actually
Quebec.
seen her live. And
In Vegas, or?
yeah,
Nice.
and I'm like, I would love to pick her brain and learn more about how to be on stage, because she's a very tiny woman, and she can take up an entire stadium, not just with her voice, but her presence.
That presence.
So I would love to sit down and learn from her.
That is a great answer. We've never had Celine Dion as an answer.
Has anyone said Alanis Morissette?
No. You
Is
can,
that-
you
You're
take
in
back
love
your
with
answer.
her.
if
I
you
would
want.
go with Alanis
He's in
Morissette.
love
That
with
was my
her.
whole goal when I quit comedy. I used to joke, and I would say that I want to get famous enough to meet Alanis Morissette and have her at one of my shows. And that's still my goal.
Maybe she could sing the Jagged Little Pill album before you go on.
Yes, I
Yeah,
would
like
love
acoustic
it.
version of it.
I used to tweet her like once every 2 weeks. And I'd just say, "Hey, Alanis, haven't heard from you
should
in a
send her a
while.
DM.
Hope you're doing okay." Yeah,
Let's
100%.
make this happen.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send her this podcast. Like, actually, maybe we can get a clip
And
of
send
Alex
it.
just
Yes.
talking about Alanis. We'll send it to her.
My eyes got big again.
know,
when I
it's
done
so
Alanis.
cute.
I was like, "Here we
All of a
go."
sudden, there's this new energy.
Yeah, I was possessed.
Can this podcast go another 90 minutes? There we go.
Yeah, you can do it.
Was she married to Ryan Reynolds?
I don't
Was
know.
she?
I think maybe I was just making up.
No,
rumors.
you're probably right. That does sound probably right. The thing is, here's the thing. When you ask my favorite Canadian, I am like, I don't know any celebrities. Like, I don't know any of them. Like, you could ask,
Same, actually.
like, any movie. Like, I know, like, Will Smith. And I'm like, I know him.
Have you read his book?
No, but
amazing.
It's
I
really
listened
good,
to one of
isn't
his
it? Yeah,
motivational
yeah.
speeches alone.
So good. And it actually
Powerful.
reminded me of your story, Orissa, where you were talking about how your first major event, when you found out there was going to be 8 million people watching and you wanted to run and you're just like, I just don't want to do this. Like, there's so much pressure, but you did it. It reminded me of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith, he was at Spike Lee's house at like a Hollywood party or something, and Spike Lee was telling him about this sitcom idea he had about, like, it was the concept for Fresh Prince, and he's like, I want you to audition for it. And Will Smith's like, okay, yeah, I will. You know, give me a few weeks and script or whatever. He's like, no, right now, at the party. In front of all these people.
Oh, sure, I didn't know
And
that.
Will Smith was like, well, no, I don't want to, you know, like, I just need to practice first, and then I'll give you my best performance. Like, give me a couple weeks and I'll give you the goods. And Spike Lee's like, okay, that sounds good. But the opportunity is probably not going to be there in 2 weeks, so whatever you want to do. And then Will Smith was like, all right, let's do this. Just did it right there in front of this amazing, like, this big crowd of party.
Of Hollywood celebrities.
Hollywood
Celebrities.
celebrities. And
Terrifying.
he wasn't famous then. Well, he had his, like, a DJ Jazzy Jeff duo.
Yeah.
So people knew him in the hip hop scene.
Yeah.
Which was really relatively new in the 80s. But he did the audition in front of all these famous celebrities at this party. He decided, screw it, let's do it. Got the part right there.
Wow.
The rest is history.
Incredible.
Yep. So if there's anything people are watching and learning from this podcast, it's don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Man.
Yes.
Do the thing.
Pleasure, Alex,
Oh,
Orissa.
thank
Awesome.
you
guys
so
are fantastic.
much, Scott.
Good energy.
Such-
Really
Thank
good
you.
energy.
Thank
I'm not wearing deodorant. I realize that.
I said good energy, not aroma. So.
I was like, dude,
Keep
can
those
you
puppets
smell
down.
it?
No, please.
Oh, I know. I had to brush my teeth today. First day with no mask. You believe it? Had to go buy toothpaste.
There we go.
Son of a.
Crazy Damn Canadians, episode 34. Andrew, hit the studio 720.